Now let's play a little offense against the marijuana industry. The marijuana industry needs to be held accountable because they tell us things that end up not being true, and they do so without any accountability whatsoever. The marijuana industry made four major arguments. They made four major arguments, and they're very compelling. The first of which was this, that if you legalize marijuana, that there will be a decrease in crime, especially homelessness, degeneracy, because when you legalize it, you can make it proper, and that you can make it more acceptable. The opposite has actually happened. When we have legalized marijuana, we have not seen decreases in crime. We've seen more homelessness, more degeneracy, more heavy drug use, which I'll get to in a second. Is Denver safer because they legalized marijuana? Is Seattle safer? Is Portland safer? Is San Francisco safer? Is Los Angeles safer? Of course not. So that contention needs to be put under heavy examination. Now, they might say, well, there's not a one-to-one correlation. I think we need to look at cities even more so than states. And Denver really was the petri dish. Seattle was really the petri dish. The second of which is probably the most important of all this, and I want to spend the most amount of time on this one. We were told growing up that if you legalize marijuana, the amount of kids that use marijuana will go down. I think we can all agree here in the audience, even if you are pro-legalization and pro-reclassification, we do not want minors to be able to smoke weed, to be able to do edibles. That is bad. This was just an insultingly dumb lie, and so many people bought it. And honestly, I almost bought it for a while. Oh, yeah, if you kind of make it legal, then they'll have to show their ID to go to a place. But when things are legal, they do it more. When things are for sale all over the place, people use it more. And one of the best arguments, and Blake introduced this argument this morning, that I think is rock solid. Marijuana was decently problematic when it was grown underground and you had to buy it secretly from some dealer in a parking lot. But with full legalization, things have become different. Think about what our market for food and beverages is like. Well, corporate America, they have the best experts, the best scientists, and the best marketing forces. They're very good at marketing products and making them as appealing as possible. It's not an art, it's a science. And that science has made America really, really fat. Now, look and imagine unleashing all that corporate power where all they care about is making money on promoting marijuana. Imagine the experts at Coca-Cola, Nabisco, McDonald's, having free reign to make the most potent and addictive marijuana they possibly can. Imagine Costco selling a family pack of weed for just $99. It'd be disastrous. So imagine the geniuses that are able to addict you to order another Big Mac, that are able to addict you to keep on drinking Diet Coke, that are able to addict you to order another Supersize Me meal at McDonald's, to now all of a sudden have those geniuses, those marketing professionals, have the full machinery behind the marijuana industry. Boy. And youth usage has not gone down. Youth usage has gone up. We have more young people that are doing marijuana, that are smoking weed than it was 10 years ago. The third contention, which is also just a lie. We were told that, hey, and this was the one that really the marijuana industry needs to be held accountable for. We were told that if you legalize weed, if you legalize cannabis, the cartels will be weakened. Do you remember this? We were told that, hey, if you legalize marijuana, the cartels are going to have nothing to do. The cartels are going to disintegrate. It'll make them go out of business, no different than the bootleggers that went out of business when we got rid of prohibition. Another insulting lie. The cartels are stronger than ever because now they have graduated towards the drugs that marijuana is a gateway drug towards. And let me say this, marijuana is absolutely a gateway drug, especially the type of marijuana that is laced with THC, the edibles, the type of psychedelic mergers that are done sometimes with cannabis. Marijuana was a gateway drug, not always to hard drugs, but to a life of slow cognitive decline, low IQ behavior, lower social standards, and an aberrant culture of shamelessness. That's from AJAC on X. Let's go through the breaks. I have more to say on this. Email me, freedom@charliekirk.com. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think we should reclassify marijuana as a Schedule III drug. But we were told the cartels would be weaker. And finally, and this is the most critical thing, they said that, well, if you legalize marijuana, that people are going to not revere it as much because when something's illegal, there is an allure to it. But when you legalize it, people kind of shrug their shoulders and they're not going to be drawn to it. My goodness, that was a catastrophic lie. So now we look at the picture across the country and we have test cases. Are young people doing better because of it? Are young people stronger? Are they smarter? Of course not. And look, parents also need to step up. I don't want to just throw this all on the government. Remember that many parents who smoked pot in college, so they may be too laid back on this issue because they think it was a marijuana from the 1970s and 1980s. Parents, you need to step up and educate yourself, read the documents, read the science. And now finally to the societal component, which is probably the hardest argument to make. But if you wanted China to win, if you wanted another power to become the geopolitical the dominating force across the world, you would medicate the masses while they stumble aimlessly through life, owning nothing, loving nothing, with no purpose, but simply a mirage of smoke and a temporary high from THC. We should always be asking the macro question in alignment with the micro question. What kind of country do we want to be? What makes us more likely to remain a superpower? What makes us more likely to remain prosperous and happy? Now, I'm going to get a ton of emails from people angry. Charlie, marijuana helped me with this condition and that condition. Medically, I'll accept all of your arguments. I can't comment on that. But that's a small portion of people that might have PTSD or they might have broken a leg and all that. Fine. That's not at all what we're talking about here. We are talking about the mass recreational undercurrent here. Now, some people might be talking about, but Charlie, what about alcohol? What about alcohol? Well, firstly, in some ways you can make an argument. Alcohol is not as great as you might think. People think alcohol is awesome. I don't drink. The president doesn't drink. Tucker Carlson doesn't drink. Drinking is not great for you either. So to elevate alcohol as some sort of, well, we need to make weed like alcohol. No, alcohol is responsible for a ton of domestic abuse problems, a lot of DUIs, but not a majority, as I mentioned. Widespread alcohol use in this country has not made America better. You can make an argument that alcohol at least has some social lubricant side of it, where marijuana is more of an isolation drug. That's an okay argument. But I would just make the more important contention, alcohol is currently legal. Marijuana is currently not legal. Drinking isn't great, but also it's better to have just one mainstream acceptable drug than 20. And alcohol is legitimately a poison. And information on alcohol getting out has caused usage, by the way, to drop off a cliff. Gen Z is no longer drinking alcohol, and they're not even resorting to weed. And good for you, Gen Z. You will be happier. You'll be stronger. You'll be more loyal to your spouses, more likely to have children. You'll be thinner. You'll be skinnier. Simultaneous alcohol and marijuana use is a huge driver of impaired driving cases now. And by the way, with Gen Z, alcohol use is down 64% of the population to just 54% in the last decade. That's from Gallup. In a second, I have to welcome Jack Hibbs to this program. And I want to just close my argument here, which is we have the test case. We can see it. Youth usage is up. It's stronger than ever before. Psychosis, depression, anxiety. The data on marijuana use is not good. But what kind of country do we want? What national project are we aiming towards? I will reiterate time and time again, I want a sober country. I want a country that doesn't need to medicate themselves. One of purpose, one of drive, one of meaning, one of divine connection. Not one where you're kind of just sluggish, kind of sitting around, slothful, blaming other people for your problems. Now, marijuana can't be blamed for all of it, but it won't help. This century will be defined as either a Chinese century or an American century. That is an indisputable fact. What is China doing? no drug use. They don't want that. They see what it does to the West. So if China, which is the rising superpower, says we don't want to bring it here because we've seen what it has done to the West, we probably shouldn't do more of it. Instead, we should reject the siren song of more drugs, commit ourselves to things that matter. In my opinion, reclassification would be a mistake.